into a rut. Very easy to get into doing things the same way just because we've always done it this way, right? So, so that foolish consistency is connected in large part to kind of a fixed mentality of, this is the way I am, this is the way I do things, and there isn't necessarily a growth mentality there. So welcome Jose, welcome Cesar, Eli, Tennis. Is that your last name, Tennis? That's a good name, good last name. So so this consistency of always doing the things the same way is fine. I mean, it's good. There's a lot that can be accomplished that way. On the other hand, striving to become better and do things, in a better way as you go forward is probably even more important. So for a long time now, I've allowed myself to kind of be challenged by people who are doing things, performing at a higher level than myself, and trying to study, what do they do? And what do I need to change in order to do things better? What do I need to do to make that my own? Manolo, welcome on Facebook there. So yeah, please share. Actually, liking is nice. Liking is really great. But sharing and retweeting and, sharing over there and commenting on Google is awesome. All right, so I'll give you an example. I really love the LaSalle football program, and I think that they do a lot of great things for a lot of great kids, and they mainly teach them how to be excellent at something. And they don't do things the way other people do them. They do it the way they do them, and they're always looking to get better all the time. And one thing that they do is they practice a certain way. They don't practice in the time-honored tradition, and they don't do things like everybody else. A lot of high school football programs in their playbook, they'll have anywhere from 30 to 100 different plays. And, I think with high school kids, 100 plays, that's crazy. But De La Salle's famous for having 12, right? And that is not the norm, because 12 plays wouldn't seem to be tricky enough for a lot of people. Well, anyway, but they run their 12 plays so incredibly well that that they're almost unstoppable. So every foot isn't exactly the right place. If everybody does exactly what they're supposed to do, then there will be a gain of yardage. So it's kind of an attention to detail thing that is so huge. And then another interesting thing is, team studies them on film. They're going to a playoff game. Everything looks like it's going the same way, but De La Salle will install a 13th play all of a sudden. And I've been to these games live where the defense kind of knows what's happening, but they still can't stop it. And then all of a sudden the 13th play comes in, and you can just see the shock on the entire defense as the jaws drop and they see something completely different. So that's an interesting thing. I think another thing that I admire about De La Salle is that they don't do the thing that a lot of high school football coaches do, which is extend practice as a form of punishment or because a play wasn't learned properly. So, if you've seen, remember the Titans and the whole, practicing until under the headlights of the cars and all that, really drilling in and staying with it that day. No, when practice is over, it's over, and they might pick it up the next day. So anyway, so the point of all that right there is to be challenged and to look, take something from a higher level of excellence and let it challenge you. So now we're going to kind of get into the foolish consistency of how people practice. So here's how USTA teams practice. They get together and they play doubles and singles sets. That's what they do, and they call it practice. That's probably the most common way that USTA teams practice. Now, many clubs, the second most common thing is that most clubs have it set up where, teams come in and they have a clinic, right? But what do you bet that clinic is run the same way every time? So I think a better way than that is to have, really actually work on the things that need to be worked on. With high school, in high school, coaches allow their players to practice in a way that doesn't really reflect the same conditions. And that's straight from today's blog, which is coming out at 11:30. Sterling adopted the phrase transforming the practice court. And so you can see a lot of his stuff. And that's just part of where we came together, was that we don't do mindless hitting, right? Another thing that passes for practice is players on a court hitting ground strokes and working on their consistency. But that isn't what wins tennis matches. I'll say that again. People go on a tennis court and they rally and they work on their consistency, but that isn't what wins tennis matches. Okay? What wins tennis matches is when one player plays their game plan better than the other player, and they use calculated risk to gain an advantage point to point, right? So it's about controlled aggression. It's about the risk-reward ratio. It's not about never missing, right? Only 10% of points ever last 9 shots or more, right? About 25% of points are going to last maybe 35% if you're a college grinder. If you're a college grinder, 35%, 1/3 of the points are going to be about 5 to 8 shots. But if you're most everybody else, then 65 to 70% of the points are going to be 4 shots or less. So this is data that's been out for a bit, and this is where this hits hard against the foolish consistency, because the data shows what's pretty much always been true, that people win about 70% of the points when they get their first serve in, right? That's been true for 25 years. So, and those points are shorter because the player getting their first serve in has gained an advantage already. So anyway, most important is to have a plan for where your first serve goes, and have a plan for a contingency plan for where the next shot goes. If you have a plan to hit a serve, and then if the return goes here, you're going there, and if it goes here, you're going there, and if it goes here, then you're going there, and you're just kind of ready. You're ready for all these contingencies. You have a huge advantage over a player who doesn't have those. But that's not how we practice. We have this foolish consistency that doesn't practice those things. All right, so we have to break away from that. And I've coached at 7 different high schools now, and pretty much every one I've gone to, the kids have been used to mindless hitting, and then when we don't do that, we just don't have any mindless hitting, then there's conflict because they're not comfortable. This is not what I've been told is going to be how I'm going to win a tennis match. And I'm like, well, sorry. So we're going to spend a lot of time doing serves and returns, right? The 2 most important shots in the game, the serve and return of serve. So we're going to spend every Monday, we're going to spend 20 minutes doing serves and returns. And You know, on Wednesdays, we might do 15 minutes, and Fridays, we might take a break on that because we've got a weekend coming up. But, you know, spending the time practicing the most important shots the way they ought to be practiced is incredibly important. I notice a lot with my intermediate kids that the ones who are just starting to play tournaments, you know, and they're a little bit freaked out when they get out there. What do? They make their serve and then they miss the next shot. So we make that a special point of emphasis as we're getting ready to play tournaments, is to go out there and practice what's really going to help them. All right. Hello, Alejandro Zubair. I hope I'm saying that right. Jimmy Johnson. That's a good name, by the way. And Jose Tenorio. Well, everybody's got a good name, so don't take it personally if you're not Jimmy Johnson, right? Because you can go NFL, you can go NASCAR. All right. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, I like to do some stuff at the very beginning of practice that encourages the ability to possess the ball and keep it going and have longer rallies. You know, the phrase I like better instead of be consistent is hit more shots in. Because the one thing I've noticed is that people who are out there trying to be consistent, they're almost never happy with their consistency. All right, so I already see that I'm at 13 minutes here. Good thing I have a timer right there on Periscope, but I'm going to cut this one off pretty quickly here. You know, and I'll leave you with a quote from Abraham Lincoln and then kind of explain why that's important. But he says, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening my axe." Right? So this time on task of working on serves and returns and having, you know, a plan for those first couple of shots, that's the sharpening of the axe so that it's going to actually be effective when you go and play in a match. But if you think you're just going to hit serves in and then rally back and forth and go into a match and execute a game plan that's different than what you've practiced, then your foolish consistency has let you down. So, all right, I'll leave you with that, because I got to keep these things from going 40 minutes. All right. Thanks for watching. So please share the videos, because that's the most important thing for me. I mean, that gets it out there and people can see what's going on here. And then also a quick tip before I wrap up. I just joined Venmo at the advice of my clients. So people asked me, "Do you have Venmo?" And I said no. And then no, you have to get Venmo. So people are paying me directly through Venmo now, which is really nice. So you know, we don't have to have cash right there. You don't have to write a check, and it doesn't slow things down. So they just Venmo me now, and it's better than PayPal because there isn't a fee to be paid there. And one thing I'd like you to do, I mean, if you're watching these and you're getting value out of them, then I'm gonna request that you just make a small donation. I mean, if you donated $1 a month, that would make a big difference. If you want to do like a one-time of 10, 20, 50, 100, $10,000, I mean, all of these numbers are welcome. If you give 10,000, I'm gonna give you a big shout out. All right, so that's just kidding, but you know, I'm planning to continue these, and if I actually see some support coming in, then that really encourages me to keep going. And if I don't, then I might, once this marathon is over of the blog, I might scale back a little bit. But please consider helping me out there. And my Venmo is at Bill Patton 720, and it's lowercase Bill Patton 720. All right. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, Facebook. Goodbye. Welcome on Facebook and Goodbye. Wait a second. All right. I'll stop the YouTube right now. Okay. Thank you on YouTube.